Once upon a time, the United States had a really balanced economy. By a balanced economy, I'm talking about the fact we had 40 to 50% of our country was doing manufacturing, and the other half was doing service industry. And so what's happened over time is that through the process of manufacturers trying to find a cheaper way and cheaper labor, they would actually outsource it, or another term for this in this case is offshore it to another country where the labor is far cheaper than that United States. Now we have an economy where 80% of all the different revenue produced in the United States is service sector and only 20% is manufacturing. Totally changed everything. So by outsourcing, when you take an item that you have and you hire somebody else to do it, it's called outsourcing. Let's say that you have a company, you have a custodian, and your custodian said, okay, I'm done with my custodian. So you get rid of the custodian position. You save the salary, you save the benefits, you save all the different aspects of whatever it takes to have that as a person, or maybe in a whole custodial department. You hire a company, and to some extent, it's easier because somebody else supervises all the custodians. You just sit down and pay the check once a month, and boom, life is really good for you. So there's merit to that, except for the fact when that company goes bad. But then again, you get inspired that company, hire another company, and hopefully the company will be same cost and everything else. You can actually save money in the process. So outsourcing has a lot of benefits to it, but you kind of lose control because that other company, let's say we're using the custodian example, what if they bring somebody in and all of a sudden things start missing out of your different stores? What if that's happening? You might have problems like that, and do you have control over it? You can't fire the person, you can't prove it's this other company. There's other issues, so not everything is always perfect, but it's a cost saving thing. And you'll see a company like Nike, they do a couple things. They do two things. Two. That's why a couple things. One, they make great shoes. Nobody questions that Nike's shoe designs are some of the most sought after by Olympic athletes. They're superb. They actually are the fastest on planet Earth, and a lot of people covet them and they go after them nonstop. The other part is Nike does a great job telling the world how great they are. It's called marketing. So they do two things spectacular, and everything else is outsourced. So with them outsourcing things, they become what we call a virtual corporation, and they focus it on their core strengths. Their core strengths, we make great shoes. We make great clothing. And not as good as your shoes, but they make good clothing. Okay. And they do great marketing. Those are the things that Nike does well. All the manufacturing is outsourced by somebody else. They are the champions of outsourcing and really a model. If you look at that, look at their overall revenue and their growth rate, it's been incredible. So outsourcing has increased a lot over the years, and you'll see almost every major corporation considers it or does it in the process. Cisco, they have major suppliers for all their components across planet Earth. Apple, over 70% of its components are outsourced, made by other companies, and you see all the contracts coming through. We've had a lot of people outsourcing things, different components of their outsourcing activity, to the point that they're a major component of the supply chain, making certain the products come through. And sometimes the company might just do a portion of the actual final tweaking to put all the components together. Sometimes they'll have the components assembled by themselves, the highly confidential ones they don't want anybody else having access to. That's a good move. Okay, you want to protect your intellectual property, and they put the final few things in the process, or they might have a confidential person at a high level that they can actually have a super trust in, making certain it's done well and nothing's lost. A lot of times you look on the aspect of why do they outsource manufacturing, even over in Asian manufacturers? What are the risks involved? How fast can you get it? Okay, if so, how? You have to pay attention to the make-buy decisions. What part of the overall outsourcing can you sit down there and have somebody else do and make certain that it's trustworthy? Do you want to put the low-cost components and the more insignificant components out there, or all the components? Those are major decisions to be made and not to be taken lightly. You want to pay attention to procurement strategies. You want to make certain that the procurement, how you go about obtaining the strategies, is that part of the outsourcing? Are you supplying the materials going into that outsourcing component, or are they going to get the other materials to go in themselves? Pay attention to all those things. Trust should be earned over a period of time. If you dive into a heavy-duty relationship where you're risking everything, that's something you need to pay attention to. On the procurement process, is it going to be independent? Is it going to be private? Is it going to be part of your consortium-based e-marketplaces? We'll talk about e-markets in just a little bit. Also, the new development means higher opportunities and greater challenges faced by many buyers. So pay attention to the whole procurement aspect as to what's going on. You open that whole area up of outsourcing. Now you have more opportunities to focus in on your core strengths as a corporation. So there's a lot to be said for that. But make certain that you're getting what you paid for. Sometimes you outsource, let's say you're outsourcing to a different country. Let's say I had an experience with China. I'm outsourcing doors to China. So they're making doors for me. So in the process, okay, I want to make certain the doors meet specifications in the United States. That being said, all doors are supposed to have a seal in the bottom right-hand corner to show that they're tempered glass. That should be there. It needs to be visible during the manufacturing process. Are they really doing it? So you hire an inspection service. The inspection service goes in and on your behalf. You can hire them, or they could be your own employee that you have go and look. In the best case, you're hiring your own employee, but if you don't have the money to do that, you hire a firm to do that, and a firm works on your behalf. Make certain that the firm is independent from that manufacturer. You don't want to have them being friends. You want to make certain that it's an arm's length transaction, and they go through during the manufacturing process. They ensure that the doors are being assembled the way that you want them to be assembled. And then you have to have them there during packaging and crating. They need to watch it being done. They need to pull up a lawn chair, say, yo, I'm going to be here for a while watching you pack these doors up and make sure the doors are safe. So they pack them all up. Then they're there when they take those crates and put them onto the truck, and they watch that truck. Sometimes they actually follow the truck to the loading dock at the ship and make certain that the crane picks up that crate, and they put it into the right container, and a container gets placed on the ship. Then the ship parts, and then that relationship with the inspection service is over as the ship sails away. But by golly, you better make certain you have insurance on that ship in case the ship sinks. Who knows what happens out there today? Or maybe a giant wave sucks your crate off, or maybe a wave sits down there, washes and hits your crate, and all of a sudden those shirts that you had made in Vietnam, those 10,000 shirts, a lot of them had red in them, and all of a sudden the red dye with the ocean water mixes, and all of a sudden you have tie-dyed 10,000 shirts, and that's not what you wanted to have. So you make sure there's insurance on that, and then you're responsible when it hits your shore, or you hire another company to make sure it's arrived. Inspection services should be part of your procurement process to make certain that you're getting exactly what you're paying for. Economies of scale. You're making polo shirts. A good place to do that is over here in LA. You just go in the fashion district. There's several different companies you can hire to do that. You can do small quantities. Make sure your product launch is really good before you get into a larger volume. But you're going to pay top dollar because this is the United States, and the labor here is more expensive at the lowest end even than you're going to find in other countries. So pay attention to economies of scale. Should you be paying attention to the aspect of, whoa, I'm paying now $7.42 to have a shirt fully assembled here in the United States, and I'm only going to sell it for $15? Okay, that being said, wait a minute, 15 is the retail. Oh no, so I'm going to be selling it for $11. No, wait a minute, no. You got to pay attention to that whole aspect of it, where you can take the same shirt, ship it over to Vietnam. You can get that thing made completely and packaged, ready to sell for $2.47 instead of your $7. So that being said, all of a sudden it's fabulous, but the only problem is you got to buy 10,000 of them. That's called economies of scale. Hopefully you can sell 10,000 of them. So make certain that you're having that whole process as to what you're doing and how you go about doing it. So on risk pooling, make certain that you have a demand uncertainty, that you're trying to transfer that to the suppliers as much as possible. You want to offload your capital investment onto your suppliers rather than you holding it yourself. And that's also, they're holding the inventory. So you want to try to transfer that, and that way you can have your capital free rather than you spending money buying capital for them. So make sure you're having that aspect of it. And that way you can focus on that thing called your core competency, and increases your flexibility to sit down and do new and more innovative things in your own realm rather than having to fund your entire supply chain. It's going to give you a better chance to react to customer demand. Focus in as to what the customer is. You want to really be pulling items through the supply chain rather than having those customers, those suppliers pushing stuff through and you trying to sell the product that way. So, but that being said, that's one perspective. If I were a distributor, if I were the manufacturer, I'd be pushing nonstop too. So it depends what pair of glasses or what hat you're wearing at the moment as to where you're at. But really, at the end of the day, you want to pay attention to the aspect of what's going on, what kind of innovations there in the high tech industry. Technologies change very frequently. People are adding things to the phones. People are adding things to almost all your technologies. You have almost a different base. You have a freemium base a lot of times that people are using. And you want to sit down and if you do anything technology or fashion, things churn really fast. You want to maintain your competitive knowledge. You want to make certain that you're focusing in as to what your product and how it's dancing in the market today, and look at the competition all the time. Look at the product design issues you have. If there's a return problem, you're addressing those things. So really, offshoring and outsourcing, they really help you an awful lot. Pay attention to the economies of scale. Make certain that you have some methodology that you have to make certain the product that you've decided you're going to pay for on outsourcing, that you're going to have somebody check it to make certain you really are getting what you paid for. There's conflicting objectives, but at the end, if you're paying the bill, that they should be fulfilling your objectives, not their own, but that contract should be defined enough to make that clear. Outsourcing, it gives you a chance to become what you really should be and focus in on your core strengths so you can be all you can be. Wait a minute, I think that's the Marine Corps. So that being said, make certain that you're focusing in on your core, that your strengths, the things that you're good at, and if you can, jettison it off. But in the process, be wise in what you're jettisoning off and make certain that you're going to get what you want out of the person that you're paying to deliver what you want. Take care.